Hello, 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 and welcome. Welcome to today's installment of Created for More, the podcast. Guess what? It's been 3 years since I started my purpose walk, and I am excited. I'm like, wow, 3 years, that has gone super fast. Yes, almost to the day 3 years ago was when I remember it like it was yesterday. We just come out of we're in the pandemic actually. We're in the pandemic, and I just felt this yearning for more. I was listening to a podcast just like this one, and on this podcast, there was a coach. It was my friend's podcast, and I was listening to a coach on the podcast, and she was just talking about how we were all there is more on the inside of us, just similar to what I do on this podcast. Actually, she was a guest on my friend's podcast, and there was just something about what she said. I guess she activated me. That's all I can say, because after I listened to that podcast, I was like, you know what, I don't know who you are, but I need to have a conversation with you. I ended up getting her on board as my coach, and I haven't looked back since. I haven't. And the things that I have done, when I think about just from that moment to where I am now, I'm just super grateful to God. I'm like, wow, you mean all of that, all of this had been on the inside of me, and I did not know. I was carrying the seed of greatness, and I was doing going through the motions, doing things that I was not excited about. I was unfulfilled. I had a regular 9 to 5 job. I was doing the things that the world expected of me. But my soul had not reached the point where it was face to face with what it had been called to do. It wasn't until that moment and that conversation with her that the trajectory of my life changed. So I'm hoping that this conversation will do the same for you. Look, don't keep thinking that it's okay. It's okay to just feel the way that I feel. It's okay to look on social media and just, feel as if the world has left me by and I just feel unfulfilled, and it's okay to have that as my default setting. No, it's not okay. If you feel that way, it is because of a reason. Don't ignore the reason. If you feel that the world is passing you by, it's because you know yourself that you are meant to be journeying in this world. You're not meant to be stagnant. You're not meant to be in one place. So today I'm going to be sharing with you 7 lessons that I have distilled over the last 3 years of doing purpose, pursuing purpose, and just being intentional about fulfilling my commission here on earth. Lesson number one is that things are rarely as scary as they seem. Oh gosh, fear, eh? This fear is a bad thing. I want you to know that the mind naturally is a magnifier. So a lot of times when you're looking at something, we as human beings will see it as bigger than it is. I can't tell you the amount of times that I have been absolutely petrified over doing something, and then I get to the other end of it and I'm thinking, oh, actually, it wasn't that bad anyway. So I want you to know that that thing that you are scared of, that thing that you are afraid of, that you feel is bigger than you, it isn't actually that big. My very first live television interview, oh my goodness, I was a mess. I was a hot mess. I was sweating. Everything was, because I just thought, like, literally, it was visceral. The fear I felt was visceral. I could taste fear in my mouth. But I did it. It came. It went. And after I was like, it wasn't a big deal. I want that to be your testimony as well. But in order to achieve that, you have to step out and start as well. Fear is a barrier, but don't let it be an impediment. Don't let it be something that blocks you. It can be a barrier, but don't let it be a permanent impediment to you. Okay? Number 2, lesson. Clarity comes from doing. The amount of times that people feel like they will get clear before they do, it's just, I don't even know what to say. I'm still speechless at it. People are waiting. I'm just clarifying. I'm changing. Once it's ready, it will never be ready. It will never be ready because you are not the owner of the vision. You are just the messenger of the vision, right? So the person who gave you that vision has a clearer view of that vision in his mind. So the best you can get is a version of it that may or may not be as clear as you think you need it to be. But guess what? It's clear enough for you to move. It's clear enough for you to activate. It's clear enough for you to be on your way. Just keep going. Keep going. When I started my nothing, I didn't know that I would have a podcast. I didn't know I would write a book. I didn't know I would have a coaching program. I didn't know I would develop such a strong sense of conviction around what I was doing. But I just started anyway, and it's like feeling your way in the dark. After a while, things then become clearer, and you know exactly what you are doing. And even till now, I don't feel like I have it all figured out. But guess what? I keep showing up every day. And as I show up, I get more conviction, I get more clarity, and I get more commissioning for the thing that I was called to do. Lesson number 3 is when you fulfill your purpose, it brings you joy. It brings you great fulfillment. That's one thing that I have learned. That it's a gift that keeps giving in and of itself. Every time I do what I was called to do, I just feel so happy. I feel so energized by it. If I tell you, actually, I'll be honest with you, I'll tell you the time I'm recording this podcast. It's 3:43 a.m. I kid you not, a.m. And I'm here recording this. Why? Because it is important to me. And I don't feel drained. I feel energized, on the contrary. So when you are doing that which you were created for, you feel energized by it. You feel happy to do it. It makes your heart sink. Yeah? The 4th lesson is that every single person has a tribe. You have a tribe you've been sent to. And the minute I that realization, crystallized in my mind, I started taking this more importantly, knowing that if I don't speak up, these people who are attached to me, quote and unquote, you people, you won't get to hear the messages that you should hear, or the message that you should hear from me, right? So get out of my own way. I get out of my own way to ensure that, you know what, I am a conduit. Message from the giver of the message, and I deliver it. Yeah, so I have a tribe. I am conscious of my tribe. I am ensuring that I continue to develop myself. Why? Because my tribe will find me. I don't have to start going everywhere. Hey, are you part of my tribe? Blah, blah, blah. Just put the podcast out there, and the tribe, they gravitate. I write a newsletter. The tribe, they gravitate. I put a social media post. The tribe, they gather. I write a book. The tribe, they gather. I release a program. The tribe, they gravitate towards it. Right? So don't worry. Don't fret. Don't say, oh, I don't have anybody who will listen. Just do your part. Do your part. And everything else will fall into place. Okay? Lesson number 5 You feel that, you know what, people care about mistakes, your mistakes. Oh my God, I used to hyper focus on this thing back in the day. Every single mistake, I would want it cut out. Every little thing, you know. But the truth is that people don't care about your mistakes as much as you think that they do. And guess what? The people who this message is for particularly do not care. Them particularly. The ones that care and start nitpicking and say, oh, but you didn't do this, blah, 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 blah. Most likely your message is not even for them. So focus on the ones that you've been sent to and leave the other ones and let them go. Yeah, remember, we are critical people. There is an inner critic that exists in all of us. And this critic's job is to point out our flaws. So it's a critic that has this, negative chatter in our mind. And it's saying, no, you didn't do that right. You shouldn't have spoken that way. You shouldn't have, no. You shouldn't have pronounced it this way. You shouldn't have done this. Oh, you made a mistake. You should have contacted me. You're not decent. You're not good enough. All of that. You've literally got to say to yourself, look, it's magnified in my mind because I am with myself 100% of the time. No one is with you 100% of the time. And even if they are with you physically by proximity, they're not in your mind 100% of the time. So they don't know what you're thinking. They don't know how you're processing. They don't know. They don't know. You can speak, you can talk, but what you say to them is the meaning that you're making of it, but might not be actually representative of the truth of what your experience is. Right? So remember that, look, there isn't anything such as perfection. Number one. Number two is that people don't care as much as you think that they do. People's attention in this day where there's just so much to do, they don't remember. Serve the ones you've been called to and leave the others who nitpick. Yeah? Number 6 is a really, really interesting one because I think for me this was where it became game changing when I learned this lesson. Number 6 lesson I've learned out of doing this for 3 years is that people follow you based on what you believe. It's not really about what you say. Once there's a dissonance between what you say and what you believe, people can tell. They can tell that you lack conviction. They can tell that you're not serious. People can smell it. They're just like sharks. You know the way sharks smell blood in water? That's how people are. Something is fishy. So it's not about going out, being loud, empty words, throwing out empty words. It's about the strength of what you believe. It's been about being in alignment with being in harmony with your truth. Because that is what people want to know. What is your truth? What do you stand for? And when you start to stand for many things that are contrary, people just lose interest. The person is not serious. Stand for one thing and stand well. Stand gidigba. Yeah? Stand well. And you'll find that your authenticity will become a magnet towards those you've been called to serve. And lesson number 7. Who's ready for lesson number 7? Lesson number 7 is that every single person has a superpower. And that superpower is either disdained or is put on display. You will either disdain your superpower or display it. Right? And the next time you start seeing other people shining and flossing with what they've been given, the gifts that they've been given, ask yourself, am I disdaining some of my powers? Which of my powers am I disdaining? Which can I also display? It's so true. I carried my gifts. You heard me say at the start of this podcast that prior to meeting that coach, listening to that podcast and getting to the point where my life changed, I carried my gifts. The seed of greatness was in me. And I carried it doing mundane things that didn't really matter as much in the grand scheme of things when it came to the reason why I was created. I carried it around. I disdained it. Oh, Tonbra, you speak, your voice sound, the tone of your voice sounds like, oh yeah, it's alright. Oh, Tonbra, you know, you would be great at interviewing people. Not that anyone told me that at then, but I mean, even if they did, I would have disdained it. Or me. Oh, I can't speak out in front. No, 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 no. In fact, I think, yeah, because I used to be really, really shy, particularly in a work setting. Oh, I used to hate presentations. I felt, oh my God, I can't present anything because I'm not confident. I'm not this, I'm not that. I spoke myself down. What was I doing in that process? I was disdaining my gifts. So I want you to know that you will either disdain or display. So today, I want you to ask yourself, which of my gifts am I disdaining? Which of my gifts am I displaying? What am I disdaining that I could start displaying from today? Yeah? And if you are listening to this podcast, and in this very moment as well, this feels like an altar call, by the way. You are saying, look, Tonbra, I am ready. I am ready for this shift. I want you to send me a DM on Instagram, tonbra.moswago. I want you to send me an email. Say, look, Tom Coach Tonbra, I would love for you to coach me. I'll be more than happy. There's nothing that lights me up more than helping others find their way. More than helping us find, I will come into a coaching agreement and we'll kickstart this thing. Look, your life is way too important for you to leave it fallow. Your life is way too important for you to have defective success, because that's what it is. Before I started my purpose walk, I was successful, but it wasn't in the way that accentuated the gifts that had been put inside of me. I want great success for you. I want fulfilling life for you. So I want you to really, really think about that and step up. It's time. The time is now. The time for you to take the stage in your own life is now. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Let me know which of those 7 reasons stood out to you the most. Send me an email at tonbra@tonbra.com. I'd love to hear from you. And yeah, it's brilliant. It's been brilliant spending the time with you today. Thank you.